Rubén, great to see you. Unfortunately, no wins in 4 for Southampton. Disappointing result at the weekend. But have you seen a positive reaction from the team? Have you seen a bounce back in training and an energy that you need to see at this stage of the season?
Yeah, well, we were disappointed with the result, and I think we put the performance there. It's just some bits that we need to be better. This was 1% that we talk about. I see a team that wants to do things. I see a team that wants to work hard to get the result, a positive environment. And we didn't have a victory in the last 4 games, but we have some good performances. We were really close in a couple of games, and then we keep going.
Obviously, results are key at this stage, but do you still feel, despite recent results, that there is enough in that dressing room for Premier League survival?
Well, the results are always key, unfortunately. But I mean, we have been always there, and we have the target to put our good performances on the pitch and then try to win football matches and be there. I think in the dressing room is still faith because they know that they are good enough to do it, and then we are still there, and we are going to fight for it.
Up next. Doesn't really get much more of a challenge than Manchester City, but immediately do you revert back to that FA Cup game? Is that a part of your team talk? Is that a part of the process to prepare for the game? The fact that you have already beaten them this season and you can do it, is that what you're going to use to give your side belief today?
No, it's not especially that game that we are going to use. I think a lot of that game, it was great. That game showed that we can do something, but I think both teams are in a completely different point right now. And we are using more the approach that we have been doing in the last 2 months, and the approach that they have the last 2 months also. That game they play with some different players than the expected players that we have for the weekend. So we know what we can do it. This team did it in the past also, not only this season in the FA Cup, also in Premier League. And we have some examples in the past, so we will try to prepare a good game plan based on the things that we can do it right now.
And for you personally, obviously, you're still new in management. Every single game will pose a different set of challenges. How much do you enjoy the challenge of finding a team and a philosophy and a game plan that can beat a Pep Guardiola side?
Well, absolutely. I think it's the things that you more enjoy when you're a manager, no? When you can face the best managers in the world, and the Premier League is full of the best managers in the world, and then you can prepare the game plan, and then you can adjust, and then you can see how you can beat them, in which spaces you can attack them, which spaces you need to protect yourself. So it is this game. It was the game against Graham Potter in Chelsea. It was the game against Brendan in Leicester. It's every game, and it's not different with Pep.
Obviously, there's been a lot of talk about Erling Haaland this season. He wasn't in their last match, but it's expected that he'll be back in the side for your match. He looks like a player that is almost impossible to stop because of the nature of his game, the attributes he has, the goals he scored this season. How much can you do to try and stop a player like him and the quality he has, or do you just have to accept that he is going to get the ball and you just have to hope that he has an off day?
No, we don't work with hope. We work with facts and with situations that we can control the better. I don't think per se one player can change the dynamic of one team. I think that one player can change it if the other 10 are doing the job properly. So the fact that Manchester City now has Haaland in front just make their system a little bit better, because the creation of the chances with Rubén Diaz in the build-up, Ederson long distribution, Kevin De Bruyne in the half spaces, Gundogan, Bernardo, Rodri as a central player, they make it possible. And it's not about only Erling Haaland, it's about as a team that knows how to use their players in the best way possible. So that's what we are focused. If Erling is there, then good, we will play against him. If not, they have the striker that won the World Cup with Argentina, and it's a team that has great players. So we respect every player, but we have our own way to do things.
And the Southampton team news ahead of the game? Have you got anyone coming back?
Yeah, no, unfortunately Salisu and Shea will not make it for the game. After the situation in the last week, they have not been able to join us on the training. Armel is still a question mark for us. And Tino is doing great on trainings, Tino Livramento, but still not ready to compete after 1 year out of football. And Juan Larios is a long-term injury. So those are the news from the team.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi Rubén, hi. Good to see you. Just on that, on the team news, what if Shea's not ready to make it? What are your options going up front? I mean, from what I've seen and what I've read, that when Paul came on in the second half on Uachu, that things look better. Has he played his way into a start, do you think?
Well, I think I have a lot of options to work. I have a big squad and I can use them. So it can be Paul, it can be Sekou, it can be a false 9, it can be a 10 in that position, it can be that I change the formation. So let's see what I decide.
At this stage, when results are so important, and you're talking there about you can play different formations or try different formations, is this the time of the season to be thinking about trying something new, or do you not put too many ideas in the players' head to try to confuse them too much?
Well, I have my own idea, and my identity is very clear. So I can make an adjustment and I can make something a little bit different, but the idea is there.
But just in terms of that, I saw some quotes from James Ward-Prowse where he's talking about defending set pieces, where you've conceded quite a few. I think it's 13 from free kicks this season. He was saying having 3 different managers and 3 different ideas and 3 different systems perhaps has been quite confusing for some of the players and has been difficult. So how do you go about finding the balance between introducing too many things when they've already had 2 managers previously with their own?
Well, that has been one of our keys. That's why we recover some of the principles that were there in the previous season for the team, and especially in the defensive moment that we introduced some bits in possession. And I agree with James. It has been difficult with different ideas, not only for Southampton. When you change too much, it's difficult to create that relation and those habits for the players. And in set pieces, we actually have 4 different persons in the season working on that. Myself, after Alex took it, was the second person, and it has been difficult the whole year. So we just need to keep working, keep evaluating, make a better beats, get better relations on that, and then keep fighting for that connection and that click, keep fighting for a better solution. So I agree with the fact that it's not easy, but it is what it is, and we need to cope with that and get the very best of it.
You spoke before about Erling Haaland. Have you been preparing for this match on the assumption that he's going to play? Because City, when he's not playing, maybe play a little bit different if they don't have that real focal point right at the top.
Well, not that much. I think they don't play slightly different with him. It's just Julian and him have a little bit different approach, but they occupy more or less the same spaces with their different characteristics. So we just focus in what do they bring specifically for the system if one or the other one plays.
Just looking at the way your fixtures fall after this one, of course you've got City first, then you look at Crystal Palace, then Arsenal, then Bournemouth, Newcastle, Forest. You've got teams that are either down around you or teams that are right at the top in the top 3 in the table. Do you look at those and think and prioritise almost and think, well, we've got to take points primarily from the likes of Palace, from Bournemouth and from Forest?
No, I don't look at the next fixtures. I'm just looking at Manchester City.
That's great, thank you. Adam?
When you first got the job, Rubén, we talked about who you were influenced by, Rafa at Valencia and so on. Pep came up as one of the names. And now here you are, young Premier League coach facing the master, as it were. Mm-hmm. Exciting, nervous? How do you feel about that? Because you're literally going to pit your wits against one of the men you'll have been studying to learn off.
Yeah, actually, yeah, it's exciting just to play some of them, also to play against Pep. And then let's see what we can do. I think we prepared a solid and robust game plan. I think the boys know what to do exactly. And then with our way to approach things and our style, we are going to try to put a big performance there and try to win the game, that's for sure. But yeah, it's exciting for me. It's not only about Pep, it's about the other managers. But in this game, I think Pep has been one of the best managers in the last 10 years. He changed the football approach with his Barcelona some years ago. And yes, he's a coach that everybody has been studying and everybody in one way or the other has tried to copy. For me, it's a pleasure, as I say, with many others, and I will try to get the very best of the situation.
Last week against Liverpool, not only did he surprise us all with a sort of 3-2-4-1 interesting formation, but the big thing about that was the width that Mahrez and Grealish held all game. Even when the ball was on the other side, they still stay very wide. And you've been playing quite a narrow 4-2-2-2. How do you deal with that? Because they stretch the game so well.
Yeah, well, he did also in his time in Barcelona. You have the interviews from Henry when he told him just to stay in the line and don't come inside, that it was a little bit difficult for him. So it's part of his game. And part of the game is to lure you to one of the sides and then try to find the switch of play, short or long, to the one against one player. And that player was sometimes Leo Messi, sometimes Thierry Henry. Now he has Mahrez and Grealish. He can step it with another one. So he has some variations, and we get our way to defend that. But we need to be on point to do it.
And actually, Saints have had some decent results against City in the last 2 or 3 seasons. You have actually, with that formation, you've actually battled them, taken them very close in games, drawn matches, won the quarter-final of the League Cup, but in the Premier League you've had good results, I think.
Yeah, but Pep changed his approach in the last game that we played in the Etihad. So he also knows how to beat some of the pressure points that we did in the past. So we need to be on point and try to change it a bit the game for him.
You have a bit of a handicap with Shea being injured up front. We know that. But aside from City, just between now and the end of the season, you need to find more threat, don't you? If I looked on paper last Sunday, you had 2 goals in the attacking 4 players in the Premier League this season. It's not enough for you, I know. How do you find more goals in this team?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. I think we have been working in our last third principles. I think we have some special things for the game against Manchester City, and I think we need to make an evolution, because it's, as I told to the boys, now we have the time to resist and try to put the things in order. It's gone now. It's time to rebel. We need to rebel. We need to get more of the last third. We need to get the last bit of offensive mentality there, and this is our time when we can go one step forward, and we need to go one step forward.
Yeah, it feels just finally to me like you've had to reset the side, which you've done well. The first 6 games, 2 wins, 2 draws, 2 defeats. But I feel like now you're saying to me the handbrake can come off a little bit, and they need to be a bit more maybe creative in the final third, or a bit more positive with themselves when they've got the ball.
Well, I think we have been working in the process, and the first part with 6-7 games on it has been a team that has an identity and you can recognize. And I think when we go into the pitch, even against West Ham, you can recognize as Saints, and you can see the identity in the pressure, in possession, and of course we miss some of the points like penetrations in the final third or last third bit. So now I think the first part of the process for us is done. We are robust in what we do. Now we need to perform in a better level in the things that we do. So it's not actually like it's a break. It's actually the first part of the plan has been working, some good performances. Now we need to make one step forward in the next 9 games.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, move on to the section for 10:30 this evening. Reece.
Hey, sorry. Hi. So, Joe Aribo is a player who hasn't started a Premier League game since December. With your side struggling to score at the moment, why haven't we seen much of him or Mislav Orsic? Do they still have a role to play for you this season?
Well, we have been talking about the players that are not in the squad now for 2 months, and it's always the same question. I mean, I have a lot of players, and they are working really well, but unfortunately I can only pick 20 in the squad, and they can only play 11. So if instead to have 30 players, we have 22, 23, we will not have this question. So Joe Aribo and Mislav Orsic are good players, are working well as much as the other ones, and when the time comes, if I decide that they can come into the pitch, they will do it, and they will be ready for it, because they are 2 great boys and they are working really hard to get themselves back into the team.
Is the squad too big then? Is that what you're saying? Will there be departures?
I say from the very beginning.
Okay. You welcome a Man City side in a must-win game for them, but also obviously a must-win game for your side as well at different ends of the table. Will your team attack straight from the beginning?
Of course, we always go to win the game. So we are always going to go and put our identity there, and we are going to try to do the things that we can do well. So because it's in the end of the day, it's about us and how can we face the game, and we have the Saints approach, and that's what we are going to try to put on the game.
It's been a very good week for the academy sides as well. Tournament wins for the under-16s and the under-11s. Obviously the FA Youth Cup tonight, which will have been played by the time the embargo's down. How proud are you of the academy, and how important do you think the youth teams are here?
Yeah, I think it's very important. We have a comment here a couple of weeks ago. First of all, I wish all the best for them tonight against West Ham. I think they have been doing really well, playing an amazing season in the FA Cup. We were supporting them a couple of rounds back in St Mary's. And it's very important that the academy is not only winning, but it's also developing good players. And it's very important for us in the first team to create a pathway for them to arrive. So we have Cami, Don Ballard, and Sam just in the door to training with us some of the time. and hopefully they will do it more often, and then the boys in the under 18 with a good performances, just growing up. It's very important for us to have players in the club that are coming from the under 19, from the B team. They feel they own the club and they have the level to play in a Premier League team.
So only 5 games left now at home until the end of the season. How important are the fans going to be in this one?
Well, for all the games, the fans are very important. And I say from the very beginning, we will fight for every point. We will fight to put good performances there, but we need their support. I think the game against Tottenham, they were key in the last 15 minutes to support us and to be with us. And we got a point in the end together with them. And this is the harmony that we need to find in our stadium, to be a team that work with their fans, and they all together as a unit, we can do great things.
And lastly then, I know you said about you can only pick a certain amount of players, but is there a reason why we haven't seen Charlie Alcaraz start so much? Had that great game against Leicester, we haven't really seen him so much since then?
Well, I think we manage the squad and we manage the opponent in terms of what we need for the games. So Carlos has been a key player as a number 9, but also staying in one of the sides, especially against Tottenham. And it can be that he's playing in a different role, in the same role. And sometimes we just need him to come into the pitch after 50 or 60 minutes just to make a different approach and to make things harder. So there are specific reasons, but not regarding his work or his quality, regarding the game plan that we want to put in the game.
Thank you very much, everyone.